Welcome back to our studio, and we're ready to move on with our final session for today. Let's welcome a panel discussion and their moderator, Tucker, the Director of Sales Engineering at Smaato. Hello, guys. Do we have you here in the studio?
Hello.
Hello, hello. Hope you're all well. How are you feeling today? Excited for the panel, I hope?
Very.
Yay, that's the spirit. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're very excited to listen to your panel. All yours. Good luck.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pulse on Prebid, Smaato's panel discussion on the header bidding solution. My name is Tucker Hennemuth, and I am the Director of Sales Engineering at Smaato. A little bit about Smaato. We are an omni-channel ad tech platform and free ad server designed to make monetization simple. Smaato was founded in 2005 with a mobile-first mindset. We've since expanded to an omni-channel approach and now handle all environments, screens, devices, and ad formats. In short, Smaato simplifies the complexities of monetization by handling a publisher's full ad stack on a single platform. Today, I am joined by three of our publishers to discuss Prebid. Our panel participants today will be Raj Mata from Outfit7. Dee is the Deputy GM and Senior Director of Ad Monetization. Dee, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Tucker. Hi, guys. I'm Dee. That's the easiest way to call me. I've been in the industry for about 10 plus years, but I've been working with Outfit7 for about 2.5 years now, more than 2.5 years. And I was the one who initially initiated the whole Prebid conversation, and that's why I wanted to join this panel today and share some of my experience and thoughts about how we integrated with the Prebid, what was our experience doing that, and also happy to answer all your questions at the end of this session.
Thanks, Dee. Next, we have Alex Campbell from theScore. Alex is the Manager of Ad Tech and Programmatic. Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Tucker. Alex Campbell. I run, as Tucker mentioned, Manager of Ad Tech and Programmatic at theScore. theScore is one of the largest sports apps in North America in terms of monthly active users, and I have a team of 6 of us, and the team manages programmatic and ad tech initiatives at the company. And we also run ad operations as well. So we have a very strong direct sold presence in Canada and the United States, and so we have a group of 3 that manage those campaigns and to ensure execution and optimizations as well.
Thanks, Alex. Great to have you here. And next, we have Chris Dingus from WeatherBug. Chris is the Manager of Monetization. Chris, quick introduction.
Everybody, thank you, Tucker. I've been with WeatherBug now for 17 years. My main role there has been really driving the monetization train that we've built over the last few years to move it forward. And to give you all an idea, WeatherBug is a downloadable weather application and website that caters to over 13 million loyal, avid weather enthusiasts looking for the best data sources out there to effectively plan their day around weather.
Thanks, Chris. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to have this conversation on Prebid. I'd like to start today discussing just some initial thoughts and how you're currently set up with Prebid. So if it's all right with you, we'd like to go around the room and discuss how each of you are integrated with Prebid currently. If we could start with Chris.
Sure. All right. So currently we're integrated with Prebid on both our website and mobile website, which we handle within our ad server Xandr. And then on the mobile front, we actually use a managed service that Xandr rolled out about a year ago. They call it PSP, or Prebid Server Premium. And we've been on that now for about a year, and it's been working quite well.
That's great. Dee, how are you currently?
Outfit7 was one of the earliest adopters of Prebid Mobile SDK. So we've been live with it for about 2 years now, and it's hosted by ourselves. So we have self-hosted Prebid solution in-house. One of the reasons we decided to do that is we wanted to make sure that we have better control over what inventory, what data signals we are sending out to our partners, and we wanted to keep the whole ecosystem as fair as possible. And yeah, it's a very simple setup. Everything is downloadable. We kind of had to customize it a little bit to fit with our requirements, but it works pretty smoothly.
It's great to hear. Last, Alex.
Yeah, we've been live with Prebid for the last couple of months in the app. So we integrated the Prebid mobile SDK and decided to go with a hosted solution. So we have one of our SSP partners hosts our server instance for us. And that definitely helped, kind of the ease of the integration along, having someone that was familiar with the Prebid mobile SDK integration to kind of guide us through the process. So yeah, we've been live for a couple of months now, and so far so good.
Great, good to hear. I think one of the perceptions in the market right now is that Prebid is a little bit of an undertaking to actually do that initial setup. And since you all have, slightly different setups, I would love to understand, what the level of effort was for each of you to do the integration. Chris, we'll start with you again.
All right. So for desktop on our side, we stood that up entirely on our own. So it was a lot more taxing than the managed service setup with PSP. All in all, I'd say the website with engineering, coding, updating the configurations for website across the board, we looked at probably about 5-6 months before we were fully stood up and running partners within Prebid on desktop and mobile web. For the in-app side of things with PSP, it was very turnkey, quick and easy. Once they launched the product, I think we were probably the second publisher that they had using it. And it was pretty much included in the AppNexus or Xander SDK. So it was very turnkey, ready to go. We basically just plugged in what we wanted to run and it ran or runs. So the managed service is very easy, I would say, compared to setting it up on your own.
Got it. Now, Dee, you set yours up yourself. So how was that level of effort?
To be honest, if you have the right set of people doing it, who understands the technical side of the SDK and how everything works, it is not complicated. I mean, we took about 2 days to get everything set up and tested. For us, the biggest challenge was to get partners onboarded onto the Prebid, especially on the mobile in-app side, who at that time didn't really understand how everything would work. So initially helping them set it up, testing on live traffic was one of the biggest challenges. But from an integration point of view, it was pretty seamless. Quick couple of days setup,
It's not too bad. And now with the managed solution, what did that look like?
Yeah, I think for us, it was no different than kind of your standard SDK integration. Like if you were going to integrate a partner, their SDK on your own, it definitely seemed very similar to that process. Probably took us a few months just to iron out all the various, little items along the way, but and obviously we're still learning and still making tweaks as we go. So there is some ongoing maintenance, but again, I don't think that's any different than kind of, your typical SDK integration. And I think, kind of having the support of our hosted, solution was definitely key there. Always quick to answer our emails and, guiding us along what to watch out for. As we've been live, similar to what Dee was mentioning with integrating partners, there's, a few reporting discrepancies along the way, but again, I feel like that's no different than any sort of integration you're going to do. So for us, again, having the support of a hosted partner along the way was definitely a benefit for us.
Great. Yeah, and you bring up a specific point, some things that you had to iron out along the way, right? I would love to understand from the group, were there any specific challenges that you had when setting up the Prebid that you would like to call out for, our audience who is looking to set up Prebid so they could be aware? We'll go with Chris again.
So for some of the challenges, I would say for the mobile, the Xander managed service part of things, the integration was incredibly easy. There was a few setup items involved as we were moving through it, but really the desktop side, I think, was naturally more time consuming as we stood things up. But overall, I mean, as everyone said, like the problems we see are like discrepancies here and there with numbers, but overall, the managed service for us has been, I'd say, pretty much a home run at this point.
Good to hear. Dee?
From a challenges point of view, when we started, from a technical side, there wasn't too many. I mean, it was a pretty seamless SDK integration, as Chris mentioned earlier. It was a standard SDK. But back then, Prebid didn't really support rewarded videos, and we monetized most of our apps through advertisement. So we had banners, interstitials, and rewarded videos. So until quite recently, we haven't really integrated rewarded videos on Prebid. That was one of the challenges we had to deal with, but luckily now we sorted it out and it works pretty well. And as I mentioned earlier, the part about adding partners to it was probably the longest that kind of took us to bring partners in place. But to be honest, if a partner supports OpenRTB solution, it's a pretty seamless integration, and the education piece was the hardest, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand that. And lastly, Alex, I know you already mentioned a couple of the challenges that you went through, but was there anything else you wanted to bring up there?
Yeah, no, again, it was just kind of like, your standard issues, SDK is crashing, but I felt that the Prebid community is such that, when you present a problem, there's multiple people looking into it and multiple different parties looking into it as well, just given the structure of the community. And anything that we've brought to the broader Prebid team has been addressed, relatively quickly, and updates pushed out relatively quickly. Obviously being an in-app publisher, it's not as quick as desktop where you can make a couple coding changes and be done. Kind of requires an entire release cycle. But yeah, from comparative to other partners, it's almost the same as what you would get with a typical SDK integration with an individual partner.
It's great to hear that, there aren't that many challenges, and, any challenge that is come across the Prebid community is quick to jump in and help resolve. So good to hear. So we've talked about challenges. Are there any recommendations that you have for the publishers in our audience that are looking to, integrate with Prebid? Chris, start with you again, buddy.
All right, works for me. I would say, just from my perspective and what we've put together in our stack, I would say it certainly never hurts if you can have some engineers willing to help out on your side, especially on the desktop side of things or with the SDK integration for a managed service. If you're a smaller company like we are, I'd say it definitely doesn't hurt to go with a managed service, simply because that'll save you probably a lot of time, and you can at least get in and start experiencing Prebid for yourself and what it can do for your revenues. I would say that's probably the biggest recommendation. If you got the team to help you out, stand it up on your own, that's certainly effort worth taking. But if you're a smaller company, then it certainly doesn't hurt to look at a managed service for sure.
Absolutely. Dee, any recommendations from your side?
Sure. Firstly, I would like to say that it is not as complicated as people think it is, right? And it is very important to see what's your business model and see what advantages Prebid brings to you. Sharing from a personal experience, Outfit7 is a mixed audience company, which means like we have a part of our users who we consider as adults and a part of our users who we consider as kids. And in the programmatic ecosystem, none of the other header bidding solutions out there currently offers contextual advertising on users who are underage, that we consider as younger audience. So with Prebid, we were able to control the data signals that we were sending out to our partners who we integrated on Prebid, and we were able to, for the first time, run contextual advertising through a programmatic solution like Prebid header bidding. And this opened up a lot of new doors for us. So firstly, that was our personal experience, and that was one of our advantages to work with Prebid. Secondly, as Chris also mentioned, in terms of looking at the resources, if you can put some technical resources in and do a hosted solution, that's the best way of going forward, because you have 100% control, you have full transparency, you have a lot of fairness among all the partners. Nobody's taking any undue advantage. But also, if you don't have enough bandwidth, it always doesn't hurt to work with other SSPs out there to at least create an MVP initially. And once you understand the advantages of it and see whether it actually helps you reach your goals, you can obviously move to a hosted solution in the future as well. And of course, if you need more help, more questions, or if you want us to share more experience outside this panel, more than happy to connect and share some experiences and answer some of the questions as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely concerned on a time constraint during this time. So any further questions can definitely be answered. But sorry, Alex, same question.
I just kind of agree with what Chris and Dee have mentioned here. The hosted solution for us was definitely, I think, the right way to get going. There was kind of, 3 different options presented to us. You could integrate an individual partner's SDK with Prebid kind of integrated in there. You could go the standalone route with a hosted, hosted server, or you could kind of do it yourself. And definitely the middle option there, which we eventually went with, kind of the Prebid SDK itself with a hosted server, seemed to be the right way to go. I agree with Dee there. It just provides a little bit more flexibility, right? Like we have the SDK installed. We can continue with the hosted solution. If we ever decided along the line we wanted to host it ourselves, you know, the SDK is already in. We just got to adjust the integration to point to a different server type thing. So this has definitely been a great way for us to get started and to kind of learn, you know, see what our traffic's like, see if one day again we want to, you know, undergo, you know, hosting it ourselves. I don't think that'll happen anytime soon, just given kind of the engineering constraints within within our company. But you know, for now, it's working well. I think this was the right move to get started. Kind of getting the guidance, like I mentioned before, the guidance from our partner to help with the integration was definitely a positive. And yeah, we just have that ongoing feedback loop too, where, you know, if we're seeing something, you know, we're a couple months in, we're still kind of new to it, still learning, we can reach out to our partner and say, hey, here's what we're seeing. And there's a good chance that they potentially have that experience, that they can guide us in the right direction and tell us what we need to do next. So yeah, I think the hosted solution was the right direction for us, and it sounds like amongst the group here, you know, definitely a one key recommendation for someone looking to start with Prebid.
Yeah, so it sounds like, you know, the resources available really is the indicator of what route you're going to go with the setup. So good to know. So this question is for Chris again. I'm sorry, Chris, if I'm, you know, picking on you a little bit here, but you seem to have the longest tenure with Prebid right now, and I wanted to know from you, you know, what best practices you've seen with kind of the ongoing management of the Prebid container.
So for ongoing management, I would say this is even with a managed service or standing it up on your own. One thing you want to make sure you do is get adapters updated. We try to do it like at least once a quarter to once every 6 months to kind of keep a cadence going to make sure that we have the latest up-to-date stuff flowing properly. I'll say that's definitely what you want to do on your side, or if you're using a managed service, to stay on top of them, to update adapters, especially for anyone that you have like a high value partner or partners that you rely on a lot of details from or anything to that nature. I would say you definitely want to make sure that those get updated at least at a regular cadence.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Great. So aside from Prebid, I mean, there's other third-party mediators out there that have their own header bidding solution. So I would love to know from the group, are you using Prebid only? Are you using Prebid in addition to some other third-party header bidders? You know, what does your ad stack look like, and you know, why did you make the decision to go that route? So we'll start with Chris again.
Fine with me. So from our side, we ended up using, I mean, we had Prebid running on the website for a while now. We went in with it because really it was just simply available to us as a managed service within our ad server. It seemed like it's already in the SDK. Let's just run it and see what happens. And we've been happily surprised with it ever since. So for us, it's we very much are on the header bidder boat for sure at WeatherBug. We, with PSP or Prebid Server Premium running, we currently are running 3 headers simultaneously within our app. And they basically see all the requests simultaneously. And we basically are moving more and more towards a true unified option on our side, which is pretty exciting stuff. So I'd say that's probably what I would offer out to that.
That is exciting. Dee, what route did you take?
Actually, so Outfit7 has a super sophisticated ad mediation solution. So we work with a lot of partners, and when we decided to go, one of the reasons why we decided to go with Prebid was also because of how our mediation is set up. So because we don't use third-party mediation solutions, it meant the obvious option, so we could control how it would work alongside with our mediation setup. But to answer your question, we also work with Google Open Bidding, Amazon TAM, pretty much all the other header bidding solutions that are available. But they all work synchronously with each other. So none of them have an additional advantage over the other. Prebid definitely gives us a bit more control over every other solution. And also, as I mentioned about contextual advertising, all the header bidding partners that we work with who wants to work with us on a contextual basis. And this is kind of becoming more and more important with all the changes with iOS 14.5. Android might come up with a new solution in the future. This gives us that extra edge over other header bidding solutions. But at the same time, it gives us a full control of how we want to like what data sets we are going to send to our partners, and we control it and we take the liability for it, and it protects us from both legal and technical standpoint of view. Yeah, that's basically it.
And Alex?
Yeah, for us, we're in it like D, and I think Chris as well. We have open bidding integrated and TAM as well. And we added Prebid to the mix. We had a very custom business case in the Canadian market. I think we're pretty dominant player in Canada in the sports market. It used to be a TV station, so we have very strong brand equity, and kind of from those relationships, we have very strong relationships in Canada with the agencies, ad agencies. So in Canada, we're 100% direct sold. Through a combination of direct IO deals and PMP and PG, and we've seen an increasing number of requests from those partners to transact PMPs outside of the Google ecosystem. So other SSPs, Index and Xandr, kind of the most prominent ones here. And we felt that the way we could structure our inventory in Prebid allowed us to kind of have that customization where, we could target certain bidders to markets based on how we set up our configuration IDs. So that's worked out very well. Additionally, it gives us the flexibility to test more partners and see who's going to deliver. I get a number of emails from various demand sources saying, hey, we're trying to get an integration going with open bidding and with TAM, but we're need a publisher to send your rep an email to kind of put in a good word for us, right? And so this situation allows me to turn it back to them and say, okay, well, we don't have to wait for TAM and open bidding. Here's kind of the Prebid documentation. Can you have your team build a Prebid server adapter to get going? So it allows a lot more flexibility that way. We can add partners in, take them out, depending on performance and those sort of things. And as Dee mentioned, the customization element, adding contextual targeting to the bid request, and in this iOS 14.5 environment, we're definitely interested in looking more into that. Just aligning with advertisers want to align with sports, specific teams, specific players. We can potentially pass those signals in the bid request through Prebid and potentially be able to match campaigns that way.
Got it. Yeah, definitely some more flexibility with an open source solution. So great to hear. Final thought and final question for the group before we move on to some Q&A would be, where do you see the industry moving towards? Do you see it moving towards more of a header bidder only solution, or kind of a hybrid, or more towards the waterfall? So we'll start with Chris.
So for us, I would say we're all in on the header bidding side. We started deprecating our waterfall, I want to say about 3 years ago. With that, we were able to remove several ad-related SDKs, which in turn on our side helped with it drastically reduced our latency, which naturally in the weather biz is crucial. So that was a big help for us. I think overall the industry as a whole hasn't moved there fully yet, but potentially due to the amount of work that has to be done. There's SDK management, all that stuff. You have to be weighted by your team, your engineering resources, your ability to modify the code. So I think with that, I think the industry is moving there, but I do believe there will probably always be some sort of like waterfall aspect there, but more or less, I'd say in the next few years, header bidding is probably going to be the primary source for most ad impressions.
I agree. Dee?
I'm personally a pro header bidding person, in the sense I'm all for header bidding. And I remember back in January 2019 when I was in a conference in London and I mentioned Prebid. Nobody really knew what Prebid was in the mobile ecosystem. And a year later, 2020, before the COVID hits, pretty much 80% of the people I spoke to knew what header bidding is and what Prebid was generally, So I see the industry definitely moving towards it. I would love to see 100% shift at some point, but realistically speaking, I don't see that happening. But definitely like bigger partners out there who control majority of the rev share in the ecosystem are actually moving towards bidding. And that is a very positive sign, because that creates a complete unified ecosystem for all the publishers to have their partners compete on a real-time basis and not have to worry about the latency, as Chris mentioned, but also spending any time on optimization, worrying about adding weight through SDKs. We can also move towards SDK-less integration, which again, I feel even if we achieve to about 70%, it's a win-win for us. I mean, that opens up a lot of new doors. So the answer to your question is, I would definitely see it moving, not to 100% at least for the next 5 years, but 70% is definitely achievable.
Gotcha. Great. And Alex?
Yeah, I think like Chris, latency is definitely top of mind for us. As a sports app, people coming in, checking scores, it's utility. So, our session lengths are kind of quick and frequent. So we want to make sure that, we're maximizing the number of ad opportunities we can fit into those sessions. So yeah, we're doing the same. We're definitely moving more and more towards these header bidding solutions and trying to, potentially decrease the weight of the number of individual partner SDKs that we have in place. That being said, I am curious to see if iOS 14.5 maybe tips the scales back to SDKs a little bit, just in the sense of, we'll see what happens with on-device targeting and how that kind of evolves over the next little while. And if there's, a partner out there that really kind of captures it and is able to generate spend there and kind of limits that feature to their own SDK, maybe that's a use case where you kind of go for a hybrid approach where you maintain a couple. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, our emphasis is always on, the header bidding solutions and trying to minimize the weight of the app and just the strain on our engineering team. I'll be quick here, but just a couple more examples of we've had to devote specific sprints just to updating ad SDKs for various triggers like, GDPR and CCPA and now iOS 14. And that strains your engineering team quite a bit and they can't get to other things. So if we can kind of limit those SDKs and kind of pack as many partners as we can into the header bidding solutions, it kind of creates an efficiency for your engineering team as well.
That makes total sense. Thank you, gentlemen. I think everything has been, very insightful on, how you've worked with Prebid, but I would like to move on to any Q&A that the audience might have. Elena, is there any questions for the panel today?
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for a great panel. Very interesting indeed. I have a question, like you've mentioned, obviously a lot in the past half an hour. What would be your recommendations towards the companies who are moving towards header bidding solution? Or maybe like do's and don'ts or something to consider?
I mean, if I can jump in, maybe. I think we kind of mentioned that, firstly, it's all about the mindset, right? Don't make it complicated. It's not actually. So, and as the guys mentioned earlier, if you don't have the engineering resources, always better to go with a hosted solution. It makes life so much more easier. You have a lot of support. You can just rely on your partners to do most of the heavy lifting for you. And it helps you create an MVP that allows you to test whether it actually works for you or not. And it completely depends from business to business. And if it does work, and then you decide to put some dedicated resources behind it and host it yourself, it's a completely different ball game. You get a lot more control over things, and you can be more flexible with what you want to do with it. But get started, talk to some of your partners, see who can help you host it. And it's an open source solution. Prebid community is really awesome. And yeah, nice and easy,
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone would like to share anything? Well, that was pretty much fulfilling. Thank you very much. At the moment, I believe we are done with the questions, but dear audience, if you have more, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A chat by the stream window. I'm sure you guys will be happy to answer them after the lecture, right?
Yep.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us today. It was wonderful to have you in the studio. I wish you a very good day and hopefully see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Have fun.